Alright, let's start with Benedict Cumberbatch as Dr. Stephen Strange, which, for the record, his last name is Strange. Like, I get that this is from the comic books, blah, 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 but his last name is Strange? What the fuck? But no, Benedict Cumberbatch, though, he did a fantastic job as Doctor Strange. Seriously, in that one sequence where they're at one of the houses of the sanctums, which that house or building, whatever, was so trippy. Like the way that Benedict Cumberbatch, he like walked up to this one door and he could open it and it was like the ocean was outside. He could turn the dial and it's like the desert's outside, and he could turn the dial and it's like like a jungle or forest was outside. Like just that sanctum house was fucking so trippy. Jesus. But when Doctor Strange and Mads Mikkelsen, when they are fighting in that place, and that's where Doctor Strange acquires the cape, you know, there was one moment where Mads, there's like this exoskeleton thing that gets stuck on Mads, and he gets stuck like this, and the two of them are talking. And we learned that Mads Mikkelsen is kind of like on this mission for eternal life. And there's one moment where the camera pans down to Doctor Strange's hand and then pans back up to his face. And in that moment, I was like, oh my God, Benedict Cumberbatch is Doctor Strange. He is Doctor. In that moment, I was like, he's the one. They casted the right person. The clothes, finally seeing him in the cape, the way that the mustache is cut on Benedict Cumberbatch, and his hair. Perfect casting. Perfect casting. That was the moment where I was like, this fool is Doctor Strange. For real. And that was such a great moment. And again, Benedict Cumberbatch, he did great when he's yelling at the Ancient One during this scene, and he's just like, I don't believe in chakras and spirituality and blah blah blah, when he's going off on her. Like, he's so convincing. He's so convincing. When he is arguing, you know, right after the car crash, when he's talking to Rachel McAdams, and she's trying to comfort him, and he's just like, you know, I don't care about you, okay? I care about my job. I need my job back. I'm nothing without my job, blah, blah, blah. I can't move on until I fix my hands. You know, that's the only thing I care about. What am I supposed to care about you right now? That's kind of how he was being. And I thought he was great performance-wise there. Benedict Cumberbatch, he really is convincing as this kind of arrogant Steve Jobs-ish kind of prick. And by the way, this guy is in the film and Doctor Strange is giving him shit. He's a real arrogant character. And that's so ironic because in my spoiler-free review, I was saying that Michael Fassbender's Steve Jobs is very similar to Doctor Strange. And then Steve Jobs, in that film, Steve Jobs is giving this dude, the same actor, shit a lot. I just thought that was a weird coincidence. But Chiwetel Ejiofor as Mordo, I thought didn't have any issues with him performance-wise, character-wise. The only one thing I will say is that I loved how the last time that we see Mordo in the films, before the ending credits anyways, I love how Mordo, he's just like, you know what, I'm glad that we saved the world and everything, but we broke a lot of rules, and you know, I didn't sign up for this kind of sorcery. You know, I'm out. Like I'm gonna go and do my own thing. I thought that was great because it made sense, especially when Mordo, he learns that the Ancient One has been siphoning energy from, you know, the dark side, I guess, to kind of live longer. And that really bothered him, you know, because his master this whole time has been like, oh, don't ever try to approach the dark side of what we do. And to find out that she's been taking powers from this evil god, yeah, it kind of makes sense that Chiwetel is very conflicted at the very end of the film and feels that he needs to walk a completely different path. However, at the very end of the film, after the ending credits have gone by, we see a bonus scene of Chiwetel killing the guy, saying that I guess he's gonna start killing other sorcerers or something like that. He's about to go on some kind of murder spree. I thought that was kind of weird. I don't know. It just felt a little bit abrupt. Just a little bit abrupt. I kind of see where he's coming from, but it just feels abrupt. I think we could have gotten some more scenes showing his progression to becoming evil before we got that last scene, you know, after the ending credits. But hey, I mean, that's just me. It's interesting nonetheless, and honestly I think his character is supposed to be like some kind of arch nemesis of Doctor Strange, so I guess it's kind of whatever, but it just felt kind of abrupt. But other than that, I thought that Chiwetel did great performance-wise, and that the character was pretty cool. Rachel McAdams as Christine, I thought she was fine. She was sufficient. There's nothing... She was fine. You know, she wasn't a great character. She wasn't a bad character. However, I will say, when Doctor Strange in that Sanctum house, when he gets stabbed, Doctor Strange, he opens a portal, he steps through it, he's at a hospital, he finds Rachel McAdams, and he's like, oh my god, help me! He's like bleeding out, he gets stabbed right here. When she patches him up, like he walks away, he goes back through the portal, and from that point on, all the way to the end of the film, he's perfectly fine. He's perfectly fine. Like, he's functioning at 100%. And I just thought that was weird, because he was like fatally wounded, you know, prior to her stitching him up. And then afterwards, I mean, it's not like a few weeks went by, you know what I'm saying? It's not like after she patched him up, he did some kind of spell on himself to kind of, you know, remove any fatigue or anything like that. I thought that was weird. Oh, and also when he's like laying on the table, he's been stabbed, she's trying to help him, and when Rachel McAdams sees Doctor Strange's astral self, I don't know, something felt off. I mean, at first she's just like, oh my god, Doctor Strange, what's going on? You're lying here, but you're floating up there at the same time, what's going on? But like, you know, it just seems like after a few seconds, she's just like, oh, well, okay, whatever, let me go back to saving your life. And I was like, what? Okay, if I was operating on someone's body, and I looked up, and I saw like a ghost version of them floating above their body, okay, I would probably run out of the room, okay? Probably hyperventilate, come back, and be like, yo, what's going on? I don't know if I can do this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just felt like her performance was very subdued. Maybe it's because of time constraints of the film, but yeah. Benedict Wong plays a character named Wong. Who did that shit? How the fuck did that happen? Really? That's weird. His character was fine, but I will say that this kind of brings me to another flaw that I have with the film, is the humor. A lot of the humor did not land for me. The Beyonce joke between Wong and Doctor Strange, I thought that was hilarious. That whole bit was hilarious. Outside of that, I really did not laugh a lot, to be totally honest with you. Like when Doctor Strange and Wong, when they first meet, and Doctor Strange is like, oh, your name is Wong? Like Adele? Drake? Eminem? Yeah, that, yeah, no, I don't know, it just, that, yeah, no, it did not make me laugh. It didn't. It wasn't like cringy, wasn't, you know, nothing like that, but it just didn't make me laugh. At the beginning of the film, when we first see Rachel McAdams and Doctor Strange has just saved that patient, you know, pulled the bullet out of his head, and the two of them are walking down the corridor, and through their, you know, their random banter, there's a lot of humor there, but it just doesn't, I don't know, it did not make me laugh out loud. Maybe I smirked, but it didn't laugh. I'm just being honest with you. I don't know. Or even at the end of the film, where Wong finally laughs, it just, I don't know. I'm not sure I'm not sure if the humor in the film, if a lot of it is just a result of bad timing, or I'm just not sure. But just didn't work for me, personally. But that's just me. What was another flaw, since we're on negatives? Okay, that giant evil god Dormammu, whatever the fuck his name is, okay? That giant evil god that we finally get to see towards the end of the film. I love the sequence where when Doctor Strange flies to his realm and traps him in the time loop. I thought that was great, but visually, I did not like the way that giant evil god looked. I just didn't. I accepted it because the scene was brilliant and how Doctor Strange sort of defeats him, but visually, I did not like the way that he looked. Personally, I thought it would have been better if Doctor Strange flew there. He's standing before, or he flies there, he lands on the environment, he's talking to him, and he's like, hey, I want to strike a bargain, and he dies, and then the audience would have been like, wait, what? Doctor Strange went to commit suicide? And then we see time rewind, and then we see Doctor Strange's wrist, we see the green spell logos, and they were like, oh, okay. I just thought it was weird that Doctor Strange flew there, lands, we see him doing the stuff with the green time loop spell, and then he goes, and he's like, hey, I want to make a bargain. I just think it could have been executed better, you know, just to make the time loop element that much more of a surprise. But hey, it's just me. I just think it could have been executed better, the scene. That's all I'm saying. But either way, it was pretty ingenious, I must say. However, that brings me to another flaw, though. Why wasn't that giant evil god able to snap himself out of Doctor Strange's time loop? You know, Mads Mikkelsen and his gang, they were able to break themselves out of Doctor Strange's rewinding loop. So why didn't that Dormammu guy do that? Thought that was kind of weird, but moving on. Well, was there any flaws I had? Oh yeah, by the way, Doctor Strange can fly. I'm not super knowledgeable about Doctor Strange's lore, but like Doctor Strange legitimately just flew to Dormammu, whatever, however you pronounce his name. Doctor Strange can fly? I just thought that was odd. Didn't know he could do that. Why didn't he fly? What else? Mads Mikkelsen. I thought that his villain was weak, to be honest with you. I thought Mads did great, like, performance-wise. He wasn't, like, cheesy or cringy or anything. But it just seemed like Mads was like, I want eternal life. I can't have it, so I'm going to try to take it by any means necessary, even if that means killing innocent people. Or fucking up the world. Or fucking up realities in the process. I think they could have gave his character some more meat so that Mads' mission made more sense and was more understandable. It could have been something like Mads had a wife who only lived for a short amount of time because she had cancer, and so, you know, they could have gave his character something more. Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One, I thought she was great. Yeah, I thought she was great, for sure. I thought she nailed it. I particularly loved her last scene in the film between her and Doctor Strange. That was an emotionally powerful scene, and I love that she was telling him, you know, it's not about you. I thought that was great. That was great. But I don't know, that was such an emotional scene for me. I thought that was a great lesson for Doctor Strange to learn, you know. And just all the lessons that she gave him were great, you know. You don't always have to look through life through a lens of your own arrogance and ego. You know, not everything can be fixed. Not everything has to make sense or is going to. I thought she taught him a lot of great shit. But the only emotionally resonating scene with her was that last moment where she's telling him, you know, it's not about you. I thought that scene was great. And I guess that brings me to another flaw, is that there's not a lot of emotionally effective scenes in this film at all. Like, aside from that one scene where she's like, her last sequence in the film, other than that, the movie doesn't hit me emotionally on any level, personally. But that's just me. And I think if the movie had more emotionally powerful scenes, that would have definitely probably took it to a 10 out of 10, because the action sequences were amazing, and just visually this movie is so fucking stunning. Like, probably the most visually stunning Marvel film to date. Like, seriously, oh my god, when Mads and Doctor Strange and Mordo, when they're in the mirror realm, and oh my god, when they're in that realm and they're running around and fighting each other, just the kaleidoscopic gobbledygook environments that they were fighting on and running around were just blowing my mind. Especially when Doctor Strange and Mordo, when they're falling, you know, and those buildings are folding around them. And there's one moment where it's like right after this scene. And the two of them are like a dot, and like all these buildings are like folding and bending into themselves, and it's just, oh my god, and buildings are like clumped together like giant Rubik's cubes, and holy shit, it just, oh my god, visually this movie's just insane. When the Ancient One fucking knocks Benedict Cumberbatch through all those crazy fucking realities, that was just worth the price of admission alone right there. Like, seriously, that one part where Doctor Strange, he's like floating above the earth, and then there's just like a butterfly, and then it's just like BAM! That whole sequence kind of reminded me of this moment from Contact. Seriously, there was one moment where he was floating in a realm with all these hands, and he looked at his hand, and there's like different hands sprouting out of his fingers, and then out of nowhere the hands formed into like Doctor Strange's face, and then he's just like falling through like a giant eyeball. Oh man, just some of these images were just fucking trippy, man. Visually, the film is stunning. The most visually stunning Marvel film to date. Oh yeah, and then the scene with Doctor Strange and Thor, that was dope. Oh, we got to see Doctor Strange with his gloves on. That was cool. Also, real quick, right after the car crash, which the car crash was just fucking gnarly. I didn't think it needed to be so over the top, but hey, first post-credit scene with Thor and Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange has his gloves on, and he's gonna help Thor find his dad. So that makes me wonder, is Doctor Strange gonna have a few cameo moments in Thor Ragnarok? That would be cool. I think the film is great. I think another reason why I couldn't bring this movie to a 10 out of 10 is that this movie, the plot, when you strip away the spectacular special effects and amazing action sequences, Doctor Strange, the plot structure is very formulaic, especially as far as as far as Marvel films go. The plot is very formulaic, and it's very we've been down this road a lot in the Marvel universe, you know. Anyways, despite the flaws, despite the negatives, this movie is visually stunning. I think that the action sequences are fucking extraordinary. I think it's a great cinematic interpretation of Doctor Strange. The performances are good. Benedict Cumberbatch is fantastic, and it's an exciting film, and it's a mind-blowing film, mostly because of its visuals, its pacing, its action. Yeah, the positives outweigh the negatives for me, honestly. 9 out of 10. Definitely love Doctor Strange, but hey, you know, what'd you think about it? What were your negatives? What were your positives? You know, let me know down below. Okay. Do